Look closely at the architecture of Dendera in ancient Egypt and ask yourself, why does this entire temple complex so perfectly resemble a highly sophisticated solid-state power grid? Make sure to watch this all the way through. In the middle of our journey, we are going to dive into the temple's most restricted inner core to crack open the mystery of the famous Dendera light bulbs. And if you stick around until the end, we will look straight up at a mind-blowing celestial carving that looks less like religious art and more like a literal directed energy beam from an otherworldly intelligence. Look closely at these ancient pillars. They stand as silent witnesses to a place where history, religion, and deep cosmic mystery collide. This is Dendera. Passing back out through this grand gateway, the singular entrance and exit still used by travelers today, you can't help but feel the weight of the past. Mainstream archaeology tells us this entire complex was built to honor Hathor, the goddess of maternal healing and joy. But is that the whole story? Alternative researchers and ancient astronaut theorists point to the bizarre, highly advanced astronomical charts carved into the ceilings here, asking a much more provocative question. Was Dendera actually an ancient portal built to mirror the stars, designed by those who descended from them? Mainstream Egyptologists tell us this sacred birth house was constructed under Roman emperors like Nero and Trajan for a highly specific political purpose: to legitimize foreign rule by carving their images directly into the stone, sealing their divine right to rule. As we draw closer to the entrance, look down at your feet. These deep, precision-cut dovetail grooves once held massive wooden or metal ties, locking the colossal foundation stones together against the elements. Stepping inside, the temperature drops instantly as the stone walls close in. Dominating the back wall of the room is an extraordinary architectural element, a massive, intricately carved false door. Mainstream scholars view this as a symbolic spiritual threshold where the energy of the child god could pass between the afterlife and our physical world. Yet alternative researchers see something far more technical than religious art. Ancient astronaut theorists look at these tightly packed geometric lines and see striking parallels to advanced electromagnetic schematics or solid-state circuitry. Was this a mythical gateway for a birthing god, or a high-tech blueprint of a literal cosmic portal? Turning back toward the temple grounds, we catch a quick glimpse of the shattered foundations of the Ptolemaic birth house, ruins left behind by an older era of construction. But our focus is immediately pulled away as we turn to confront the colossal exterior of the main temple itself. Its towering sandstone walls dwarf everything around it. Academic scholars view this imposing monument as the ultimate pharaonic tribute to fertility and cosmic order. Yet alternative researchers argue that this massive stone shell wasn't just built to impress. They believe its sheer scale and thick walls were engineered to protect and insulate something highly volatile hidden deep within its core. Stepping through the threshold, we snap inside to one of the sacred, dimly lit inner chambers. The open desert vanishes, replaced by a claustrophobic stone corridor tightly blanketed in deeply carved hieroglyphs. Scholars assert these secret rooms were private sanctuaries where priests stored precious oils, golden statues, and ritual objects away from public eyes. But at the far end of this chamber, we find the ultimate catalyst for the entire ancient astronaut theory: the famous Dendera light bulbs. Mainstream Egyptologists firmly maintain these carvings depict a lotus flower spawning a snake, a symbolic representation of Egyptian creation myths. Alternative theorists vehemently disagree. They look at these giant bulbs, the undulating serpents resembling glowing filaments, and the Djed pillars supporting them like high-voltage electrical insulators, and ask a radical question. Is this stone canvas smoking gun proof of lost, advanced technology? Were the ancients generating electricity, or were they depicting a source of power handed down by the gods themselves? Leaving the first hidden sanctuary behind, we continue our journey through the shadowy labyrinth of the main temple. Mainstream history tells us these surrounding chambers functioned as transitional storage vaults for sacred temple objects. Yet alternative researchers view this complex network of isolated rooms as a highly structured energy matrix. We halt as we confront the entrance to an entirely new, elevated sacred room, an obscure chamber dedicated to another aspect of the goddess Hathor. Why suspend an entrance so far up a vertical wall? Egyptologists view these high access portals as ancient security layouts designed to restrict access and protect sacred relics from thieves. But ancient astronaut theorists point to its structural placement, arguing it mimics a safety hatch or containment airlock designed to isolate a secure zone. If you ever want to know what it feels like to be a real-world Indiana Jones, or a daring explorer navigating a forgotten tomb out of Hollywood, try hauling camera gear up a vertical ladder and crawling belly first through a tiny stone hatch. The sheer physical effort to squeeze into this elevated chamber is absolutely intense, leaving you catching your breath in the heavy ancient air. We are in an isolated corridor. Scholars call this an upper chapel for storing ritual gear, but alternative theorists wonder if it acted as a Faraday cage to protect sensitive relics from external energy. Reaching the absolute end of the passage, we pull up directly in front of the room's focal point, a striking, monumental carving of the goddess Hathor herself. Her serene, wide face and distinct cow ears stare directly back at us from the stone. To Egyptologists, this is the ultimate spiritual signature, marking this hidden space as a cosmic womb dedicated to her divine essence. Ancient astronaut theorists take it a step further, suggesting these stylized wide-eared depictions represent the literal faces of the extraterrestrial mentors who visited early Nile builders. After taking a final look around this breathtaking, claustrophobic sanctuary, it's time to turn back and make the awkward crawl out. Whether this hidden room was a secret house of prayer or a lost tech vault, the intense journey to see it leaves an unforgettable impression. This mirrored room looks identical from the outside, but inside the space dramatically compresses. In ancient Egyptian architecture, space shrinks near absolute holiness to maximize purity. Unlike the larger chapel across the way, this tiny room functioned as a high-security wall safe built exclusively to lock away the temple's solid gold cult statues. Get ready, because we are completely leaving the ground floors behind. We are plunging headfirst into the legendary winding staircases of Dendera, embarking on a rapid claustrophobic ascent through the literal spine of the mountain of stone. This isn't just a quick flight of stairs, it is a massive, labyrinthine stone maze that winds its way all the way up to the temple roof. The sheer, staggering scale of this complex hits you the longer you climb. It feels completely insane how long it takes just to scale this monolithic masterpiece, feeling the immense weight of millions of tons of sandstone pressing in around you from every single angle. Why build such an elaborate, grueling path to the heavens? Mainstream archaeology tells us this entire temple was dedicated to Hathor, the ultimate goddess of the sky, cosmic healing, and maternal protection. This winding staircase was specifically designed for grand New Year festivals, where priests would process upward in a sacred line to carry statues of the goddess to the roof, allowing her to physically reunite with her father, the sun god Ra. But the grueling, rapid climb is building up to the ultimate payoff. As the shadows finally break, we are about to burst out onto the roof to witness the true, jaw-dropping height of Dendera. Get ready to see this ancient complex from a perspective that completely shatters mainstream expectations. Stepping out into the blinding Egyptian sun, your first impression of the roof might actually feel a bit uneventful. At a glance, it looks like a flat, quiet desert of bare stone blocks. But that initial impression quickly shatters as you begin to walk across it. Passing straight through this open-air stone pavilion, you start to realize that this roof isn't just an empty terrace. It's an entirely separate ceremonial landscape built high above the desert floor. It is only by walking around these massive blocks do you grasp the jaw-dropping scale. Standing on this mountain of stone looking down, you realize this roof was the ultimate staging ground for cosmic alignments, bringing priests face to face with the gods. We pass briefly through the open-air Osiris Chapel, where priests once conducted secret ceremonies to resurrect the Lord of the Underworld. But our time on the roof is up. The exit doorway funnels us straight into the eastern staircase to begin our descent back to the ground. Unlike the winding staircase we used to climb up, the eastern staircase drops straight down like a bullet. Mainstream Egyptologists explain this rigid, dual staircase layout as a beautiful symbolic performance. The western spiral mimicked a falcon rising toward the sky, while the straight eastern path allowed the priests to descend smoothly back to earth, carrying the newly energized presence of the sun god back to the lower temples. But ancient astronaut theorists view this highly deliberate, mirrored structural design through a much more technical lens. They look at the two distinct corridors, one tightly spiraling up and one dropping perfectly straight down, and suggest it looks identical to an advanced energy circulation loop or a particle flow system. To alternative researchers, this entire layout was a physical power station, specifically engineered to channel, compress, and accelerate energy throughout the entire stone complex. The straight descent drops us right into the Hall of Offerings. Scholars view this zone as a ritual pantry where priests dedicated elite sacrifices to the gods. But alternative theorists view it as an energy regulator, stabilizing the forces before shooting us right back out into the massive pillar room. Emerging from the dark corridors, we find ourselves swallowed by the colossal scale of the main Hypostyle hall. 24 massive pillars tower into the gloom, each one carved with the stern, four-sided face of the sky goddess, Hathor. Mainstream scholars call this hall a representation of the primeval marsh of creation, where the thick stone columns symbolize giant lotus stalks rising up from the mud to support the very roof of heaven. But look up at the ceiling. Intact after millennia, it features a breathtaking astronomical map of the cosmos. Academic experts view these celestial charts as a highly detailed religious calendar mapping the constellations. Ancient astronaut theorists, however, see something far more radical. They look at these intricate alignments and argue that this ceiling serves as a literal stellar navigation map, a precise celestial coordinate system preserving the exact cosmic origins of the gods who came from above. Stretching out all the way from one side of this monumental hall to the absolute other is the colossal figure of Nut, the ancient Egyptian goddess of the sky. In pharaonic lore, her elongated painted body literally serves as the vault of the heavens. Mainstream scholars view this sprawling masterpiece as a beautiful religious illustration of the daily cosmic cycle. Every single evening, Nut is shown swallowing the sun disk at sunset, letting it journey through her starry body overnight before she gives birth to it anew at the break of dawn, renewing the entire world. But as our gaze reaches the very end of her body, we confront this striking image. The sun disk releasing massive, highly geometric streams of beaming rays directly downward onto the Earth. Mainstream history reads these straight bands as a poetic tribute to the life-giving warmth of the sun. Yet, ancient astronaut theorists view this precise carving with a completely different lens. They look at these rigid, radiating lines and the strange, repeating wave patterns beneath them, and see an unmistakable depiction of a directed energy beam or advanced frequency technology. Was this merely a mythical sunrise, or were the ancient builders documenting an otherworldly transmission of pure power from the stars? Exiting the main halls, we confront this towering monumental exterior wall on the outside of the main building. Mainstream archaeologists view these giant exterior reliefs as traditional protective imagery, depicting the pharaoh and gods in grand procession to guard the temple's structural and spiritual sanctity against outside chaotic forces. But ancient astronaut theorists see something else entirely in these giant, repetitive rows of towering figures. They argue these massive stone walls were built to serve as an immense historical archive, permanently preserving the true, giant scale of the divine creators who once walked among early humans. We move now to the edge of the famous sacred lake. Scholars explain this dry stone-lined pool as a grand water reservoir where ancient priests bathed for daily ritual purification. Yet alternative researchers view this vast basin grid differently, suggesting it functioned as an advanced chemical purification system or an energetic water treatment facility. We step directly into the ruins of the Roman sanatorium, the ancient world's holistic hospital. Scholars explain that sick pilgrims slept in these dark rooms, drinking water that had flowed over magical statues to receive healing dreams sent by Hathor. But alternative theorists analyze this grid-like network of isolated chambers and water conduits with a technical perspective. They suggest this facility functioned as a specialized quarantine hub or a biological decontamination lab engineered to treat personnel. Gazing up at the ceiling of the sanatorium one last time, we catch a final glimpse of the ancient celestial and protective motifs carved into the stone over 2,000 years ago. But we quickly head back out, making our way all the way to the main gate. Stopping to look at it from the opposite side, an entirely new perspective reveals intricate reliefs and structural details we completely missed on our way in. Throughout this entire journey, we haven't asked as many questions as we usually do. Instead, we let the sheer scale of the stone speak for itself, a deliberate style shift to let you confront the mystery of Dendera uninhibited. Did foreign emperors build this to appease local priests? Or did an advanced civilization leave behind an intricate network of cosmic infrastructure? The answers remain locked in the